Hey there, what's up you guys? This week in gaming news, there's been a lot of really cool stuff that happened within these 7 days that really impressed me, made me happy, overall kept me interested. I want to share this stuff with you, from games being announced, from games reviewing well, from games previewing well, all of that and more. Before we get into it, do me a favor you guys, like this video if you guys like this type of video. Please consider subscribing, as it does help me out tons. We do this every Friday where I just go through all the stuff that happened this week within the gaming industry that personally interests me and I think might interest you as well. So let's start things off real strong with Pikmin 4. So Pikmin 4 released last week. It had its first opening weekend, and we got the sales numbers in Japan for Pikmin 4, and it turns out that Pikmin 4 has already become the fastest selling Pikmin game, at least in Japan. So if you were to grab all of Pikmin 4's sales, it would be greater than all the three Pikmin games combined. So that's really impressive for a franchise that's kind of niche. It doesn't really stick out too much. I think when you think Nintendo, you don't always go to Pikmin directly. But I guess it just goes to show, if you make quality content and you put it on a console that sells well, it's guaranteed to do some kind of numbers, essentially. Especially if it's Nintendo, and especially if it's in Japan. We're still waiting to see where this Pikmin 4 actually ends up selling, as far as like further down the road, if it has legs. But it looks like with this early start that Pikmin 4 is going to be the best selling Pikmin in this franchise. Congrats to Pikmin. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have forever changed The Legend of Zelda. It'll never, or probably ever, go back to what it once was traditionally, for better or for worse. Me, I do like the open world concept, but I do really miss that traditional style Zelda game. Now, Nintendo is not letting their older Zelda games die out, though. They're bringing Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages to the Nintendo Switch online application for the Game Boy. This is really exciting because I never got a chance to play any of these games. I know that they got released on the same day, and I guess to get the full picture or the grand scope of what the story is, you must play both of them. So I'm excited to give them a shot. I don't know which one I'm going to start off first, or when I'm going to actually get the time to do it. But I am very excited to go through these games again, as I've never really played them before. So if you guys have never played them, or you just want that hit of nostalgia, give it a shot. It is available now currently, again, on the NSO if you have just like the base tier. Pretty cool, pretty exciting. Splatoon 3 is one of my favorite multiplayer competitive shooter games out there. I always like to hop back in, specifically whenever Splatfest is going on, and the Splatfest for August has officially been announced. It's going to be running August 12th to August 14th. Your choices are going to be money, fame, or love. I don't know exactly which one I'm choosing yet. I definitely won't be choosing fame, because forget that much. It'll be between money or love, because I love money. So it's going to be a little bit hard one. I'm not exactly sure which one I'm going. Let me know if you guys are going to be hopping into the Splatfest and which one you guys are going to be choosing. With the month of June pretty much over and the month of August right around that corner, it's about that time where PlayStation announces the games that we're getting for PlayStation Plus subscription for the month of August. So the games coming to the subscription service is going to be PGA Tour 2K23, Dreams, and Death's Door. All these three games will be available August 1st. So this is your last chance to pick up any games from July that you are interested in. Remember, you don't have to download them immediately. You can just claim them, save it to your library, and then download them later when you're actually interested in playing them. So I do recommend claiming at least majority of the games. There are some games I'm a little like I don't ever see myself playing, but I still do my best to claim most of the games. As far as these specific games, PGA Tour, I'm not a golf fan, can care less about that. Dreams is something I've been interested in, but nothing I ever wanted to actually invest money into. So the fact that I'm going to get a chance to just download it and give it a shot, I'm going to see what it is, if there's anything fun in there. And Death's Door is like an indie game published by Devolver Digital. It came out a couple years ago, and it looked really interesting, really cool. Again, I missed this one. So I am pretty interested in checking Death's Door out, as a lot of people do speak very highly of this game. So again, I'm interested in seeing what it's about. I don't think it's controversial to say that the PlayStation 5 has been selling very impressively especially when you consider the fact that the first couple years did take place within a pandemic, and it was really hard to find one. You pretty much had to pay outrageous prices, sometimes twice the price of the actual MSRP console. And in recent memory, they definitely stocked up store shelves. They've re-upped their stock, and it has been easier to acquire a PlayStation 5 for those who want one. One of the things that really impresses me is how well they've been able to sell this console without any really notable like first party titles exclusive to the PlayStation 5. Well, PlayStation did announce that the PlayStation 5 has officially sold 40 million units, and this isn't shipped. This is like sold off of store shelves, not just like shipped to stores. So that's really impressive to know that there's 40 million units of PlayStation 5s out there in the wild and people are playing them. Overall, this is a huge achievement for Sony and the PlayStation family and team. It is also really notable and really impressive that they've been able to sell this many units without that big blockbuster like exclusive PlayStation 5 title. I mean, Ratchet and Clank is probably the closest thing. Maybe Final Fantasy 16, but that is third party and it is coming to PC eventually. So Spider-Man 2 will be really the first like big bad PlayStation 5 exclusive game, and will be interesting to see how well the PlayStation 5 starts selling even more as these bigger badder games start coming into like the conversation. Something PlayStation has been doing a really good job at is getting games for free day one on their PlayStation Plus subscription from like third parties or other publishers, other developers, things like Stray, things like Humanity. And it is really cool to see them get some of these really cool games that I've been really interested in. And the newest game that has been announced to come to the PlayStation Plus like subscription service day one is going to be Sea of Stars. This is a retro inspired JRPG that I've been really excited to play. This has been on one of my like must play lists, highly anticipated whatever of 2023 since the game got announced. And what is also really interesting is the fact that this is not only just coming to PlayStation Plus day one, but it's also coming to Xbox Game Pass day one. So it is really, you know, a win for the developer, the indie team. It is also a huge win for consumers, and hopefully getting some more of these games day one on both Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus would be a really cool move in the future, again, especially from the consumer's point of view. We talked a little bit about Ratchet and Clank being the big bad PlayStation 5 exclusive kind of for a while now. What it is, it did finally make its way over to PC, and there was this whole like controversy as like, did PlayStation lie about the fact that this game is only possible with an SSD? All this kind of jazz and conversation. I never really cared too much about it, because I always understood that when the marketing team was saying this game is only possible thanks to the PlayStation 5's SSD, I think they were talking about the fact that it's possible in like idea and theory, and the fact that it's something that Insomniac would be willing to tackle, knowing they have the SSD to kind of hold up the frame rates and hold up some of these really quick movements that the game has to do, like from rifting from portal to portal, and just really quick load times. And Digital Foundry did their whole like analysis where they broke down the PlayStation 5, a big budget PC and a lower budget PC, just to kind of to see like the scope of what's possible with this game on PC. So for the lower budget PC, they used kind of a PS4 style build of it, and it was really interesting to see that, yeah, technically the game functioned, but it definitely was not running optimal, as it was running really slow. A lot of the glitches were really like iffy. I think at even one point on like the PlayStation 4 build, it just like outright froze every time it would go like rifting. So again, all that I definitely believe was not optimal and not the way the game is designed. So I think this does put a little bit of like truth in the whole marketing campaign of saying that Ratchet and Clank is only really possible thanks to the PlayStation 5's SSD. PlayStation's new hit show, Twisted Metal, on Peacock, TV show adaptation of the franchise from like the PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3 era. A franchise that I love so much from when I was growing up. The show finally released to very mixed reviews, and I think that's kind of to be expected, as they weren't really taking a very like Last of Us approach to this. We were trying to make like an Emmy award winning TV show. I think they were just trying to have fun with it. And overall, from the reviews, you either get it or you don't get it. I watched episode 1 and I mess with it. I like it. I think it's decent. I don't think it's like the best storytelling Twisted Metal as a franchise has ever offered. I still think Twisted Metal Black is the best for that. But it is, again, fun. I think the acting's great and the cinematography is decent. But I think they're kind of definitely not, again, trying to win an Emmy with this one. So if you guys are interested, it is streaming on Peacock. I definitely recommend you at least watch episode 1 if you're interested. Yeah, it's an alright show. PlayStation has been doing this thing called the China Hero Project, where they've been like essentially funding the development cost of a lot of indie studios in China, and hopefully in a way of kind of like cultivating newer talent and growing some newer studios. Dark Star Studios is one of the indie teams in China Hero Project, and they recently announced their next game coming to PlayStation 5. This is Daba, Land of Waterscar. This is an action RPG coming exclusively to the PlayStation 5. This one really called out to me. It looked really cool. The mechanics look really interesting. This really showcases, in my opinion, another way of like indie games. And I feel like there's like levels to indies. There's like the budget $1, $2 titles. There's those clone ripoffs of other games. Then you start getting into like the real good indie games like the Hollow Knights, the Celestes. And then I think you have things like this and things like Liza P, where they're indie, but they're definitely closer to like double A, considering the fact that they have like first party support. Think of like Liza P, Daba, even I would say Ori fits into this kind of build. But yeah, the game looks really cool and looks really interesting. It definitely has some Souls inspirations, but definitely more like hack and slash. It definitely looks less punishing. But yeah, I'm interested in it. Keep notice of this game if you guys are interested as well. There's a couple other games that were also announced, but this is the one that really called out to me. A cool announcement for me personally is the announcement of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls 2. Now, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls came out like 2, maybe 3 years ago. It was a fun Nickelodeon-based like Smash clone, essentially. It's a platform fighter, and I don't typically really like platform fighters. Like, I like Smash Bros because it's Smash Bros, but honestly, as far as like actually playing Smash Bros, it's really tricky for me. I feel like I can't really get into like the competitive 1-to-1 because I always end up falling off the platforms. And I feel like for whatever reason, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls was slightly easier as far as just like head-to-head combat. I found myself falling off way less, and the hazards weren't as intrusive. It was definitely seemed more like an actual fighting game. Controversial, hot opinion, whatever. But yeah, the only issue with the original game was they had no budget. There was no voice acting. They lacked characters. They lacked a lot of potential in the game. But this looks like they're taking the same base concept and then they're adding on to it. They're making it better. They're cleaning it up. Voice acting, cleaner animations. All this kind of stuff that gets me really interested in it. I'm very hyped when this game comes out because I want to be giving it a shot. I love Nickelodeon, and I love that the characters that they pulled in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls weren't just like the newer characters. There were also some of the older characters, some weird like hidden gem style characters like Toastman, Bread Toastman. Again, a lot of really interesting stuff and potential with this game. And it looks like Ludosity and Game Mill are trying to kind of make this become more of not a competitor necessarily to Smash Bros, but more like just another option in case people don't want to play Smash, or like right now how we're gonna be in between a period of Smash Bros, between we don't know when the next one's gonna come out. Hey, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls 2, check it out. Armored Core 6 Fires Rubicon is the next game coming up on my list of very hyped games that I'm hyped for. Now, it's coming out in the month of August, and previews have officially came out in this week, and they've been glowing. A lot of people have been praising it from the fact that it is completely different than the Souls genre game, just like From Software has said. The action is really intense. Some of the fights they said were really smaller and like weaker compared to like a Souls game where you kind of struggle, and then you have that skill check. In this game, the kind of noise is that it's really easy, and then you get that skill check that forces you to like think on the fly and really switch mechanics around and really customize your mech to fit a specific situation. So it is really interesting. It's really cool. I'm really hyped for this because I just want to be a big ass robot, zoom through a city, and just start blasting other robots. Again, it's really hyped. I've been talking about this game pretty much since it was announced. Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out. Sonic Superstars 2 is the next foray into 2D for the Blue Blur, and a lot of us really wished it was Sonic Mania 2. But this looks cool too. I'm not going to hate on this one, but a lot of us really wanted Sonic Mania 2. Well, a new report from Sonic Team and one developer from specifically from that era of making Sonic Mania with Christian Whitehead and Headcanon has came out and said that that originally Sonic Mania 2 was in plan for development and some of the development even had begun, but that there was like differences in how they wanted to take 2D Sonic as far as like art style, where Sonic Team really wanted a 3D style of Sonic 2D and Headcanon still wanted that pixel art. Ultimately, they both agreed that it wasn't going to be a good fit with them working together, and then they both parted ways. No bad blood. But hey, what could have been had we had a Sonic Mania 2? Reviews for Disney's Illusion Island on a Nintendo Switch have came out. It's sitting on a 73 on Metacritic, and that's not bad. That's definitely really good for a platformer from specifically Disney, something that I don't think a lot of people had their eyes on. Ultimately, the game people said is really well. It plays smooth and it's fun. It's just a little bit too much on the easy side. Maybe it's too accessible for kids. But yeah, it does look like a fun game, and 73 definitely isn't a bad score. Speaking of games that were reviewed on a Nintendo Switch, Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons. It's also available on like PlayStation, PC, and Xbox. But specifically, the Nintendo Switch Metacritic score is sitting at a 70. With most people noting that it is a very suitable beat-em-up game specifically for the Double Dragon series, but it doesn't do anything out of the ordinary. You know, it didn't hit the highs of like Streets of Rage 4 or Teenage Mutant Ninja Shredder's Revenge, but it is, again, another suitable entry into the Double Dragon franchise. I'm just excited that, again, beat-em-ups haven't died and we're getting this whole arcade retro like infusion into the modern era of some of these classic beat-em-up games. Immortal Fenyx Rising was Ubisoft's like Breath of the Wild inspired game. It was interesting, it was fun, but I don't think it was really like, you know, game changing specifically for Ubisoft. Well, a lot of people anticipated a sequel of this game because a lot of people really did like the original one. Turns out that they were working on one. Specifically, the team behind Assassin's Creed Odyssey was working on Immortals Fenyx Rising 2. It was set to take place in like Polynesian culture, but Ubisoft eventually ended up just chopping it, ending development, as they ended up development on tons of games these last couple years, as they shift their priorities to specifically just Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. I mean, it makes sense for Ubisoft to say Assassin's Creed's our cash cow, Far Cry's our cash cow. Immortals Fenyx Rising wasn't really groundbreaking, but I understand for the fans' perspective, it sucks because if you wanted a sequel, specifically in Polynesian culture, like that would be really cool. But it's just apparently it's just not gonna happen. But maybe if there's, you know, time later on down the road, maybe later on in this console generation, we might see a sequel because there looks to be that there was some passion behind it in the Assassin's Creed Odyssey team. Well, that does it for this week's news roundup, gaming news topic, whatever the heck you guys want to call this video. I honestly don't really know what I call it, to be honest. Anyways, you guys, let me know down below what your guys' thoughts on any of these topics are. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next video.